Hi, I'm Karen Newman, and I'm a member of the nominating committee here at Lake of the Woods. I'm here to do an interview with TC Phillips, Tom C. Phillips, and I thank you all for watching this interview and being engaged. And TC, I'd like you to introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm TC Phillips. I live at 126 Mount Vernon. I'm in Section 8, 168. I was military for 20 years, retired, went into industry, worked in industry for about 10 to 11 years, and then I started my own company, and I have a consulting company that I have right now that I work part-time. And I'm actually on the board right now, so I'm rerunning because I was filling somebody's spot when they resigned.
Tell me, what has motivated you to run for the board?
Actually, it was one of the board members at one of the coffees I listened to, and they said, hey, you can ask a lot of questions, you can question, you can complain, but you know, the only thing that makes a difference is if you actually volunteer to work. So I started out on one of the committees, on the ECC committee. So I worked for the ECC committee for almost 3 years. When I ran for the board this last year, I was in my last year, and I missed it by 8 votes. And then I was brought on the board in February. So, I mean, I would just want to make a difference. I think I can make a difference between my military background and my industry background. I have a varied background both in leadership as well as manufacturing, project management, program management. So, and I ran a P&L, which is a funded part of a company. So I think I have a lot to offer to the community.
Given the fact that you are currently filling an unexpired term on the board, but you are now running for a full term, what kind of research or preparation have you done or are you planning to do to fulfill the role of board member?
Well, I've already been elected, voted on to be the assistant treasurer. So I'm looking at maybe possibly follow on, and do the treasurer position the next, if I get voted in. But I mean, I'm not sure there's much more that I can do to study to be on the board when I'm on the board. I'm doing all the work that's on the board. I'm on some of the special ad hoc committees right now, working food and beverage. So, I mean, I'm pretty much engaged in a lot of different things. I was engaged in the software effort that they did for smart webs, for the ECC and the compliance. So I've been engaged in a lot of different things. So I haven't, no moss grows under my feet.
What's your understanding of the Board of Directors' role in governance and how it relates and interacts with the general manager?
When you say government, do you mean governance?
Governance.
Governance. So the Board of Directors work as a team. The general manager works directly for the board president. But he is responsive to the directors depending where they are and what they're doing, on different projects. But any direction to the general manager normally runs through the board president.
Okay.
I do know that they have meetings on Mondays, and typically the board president and the vice are in those meetings, which are weekly meetings with the GM.
Social media has become an important influence in our society. And what is your perspective on using those platforms and how we can leverage the opportunities here at the lake?
So this question was asked of me the last time I ran, and I answered it probably the same way, which was I'm not on very many social medias. I'm not on Facebook, so I don't see a lot of the negative stuff that gets put out there. My wife sends it to me, but I think social media is really a double-edged sword, really. I mean, it cuts in one way where it's good, where it's positive, where you can put things out and talk about the good things, like how well the restaurant's doing, or, you know, trying to put out positive stories. But it also works in the opposite way, where all of a sudden it becomes people complaining, and it just becomes, there's just, it's too polarization sometimes. So I prefer really not to focus on social media. I think it has to, most of our work has to be face to face with people.
What are your ideas to increase member voting and participation in referendums?
Well, we had the same issue last year, and what we talked about is maybe within the sections, there maybe needs to be section captains that go out and talk to the different people within the sections, because that's where you really know people the most, is within your sections, or in your cove, or in your street, your little cul-de-sac. So I think what we need to do is we need to kind of work on a plan to have section captains that go out and try to, you know, get the vote out. It's going to be tough because we still have a lot of people that are part-timers, but there's no easy answer. I mean, I think what we had was 900 and some votes last year, and just made enough so that we could say that those members of the board were voted on. So we barely made the number last year, and there's 4,000 at least votes. So when you only get 800-900, the people that don't vote, the problem is the non-voters are no vote. So that causes a lot of problems with what we were trying to do on the referendums. But I would believe that the percentage of people that supported the referendum was probably greater than the percentage that did not support them. It just, we had a lot of non-votes. So, I mean, captain of the different sections, I think, is the only way to go.
What would you consider the most important current issues facing the association, and how should the association address them?
I don't know that there's necessarily one. There's probably about 3 different things that we would need to focus on. Obviously, one is I think the most important thing right now is looking at our budget and trying to live towards our budget that we built. I mean, we always know that we're going to have to support, you know, certain amenities, but we have to be able to kind of live to that budget. So I think part of the problem is getting labor under control, and that's why the special ad hoc committees have been set up, one for food and beverage and another one for capital projects. So we have to do a better job of, on capital projects, we have to do a better job of doing the work up front to make sure that capital projects are really, all the due diligence is done, so that you know that what that thing is going to cost is really going to be the end product. The other thing is, I think because we work within a year-to-year budget, it's really hard to execute these programs, to actually look at the funding and everything in that quick year. I think we need to move to a 3-year budget, you know, because once the budget's done, it's a baseline, and then it changes year to year. But if we could do that, then I think we could control some of the things that are happening, and plus then capital projects would be shared among multiple years. Right now, that capital project has to be executed and completed in the year that it's funded. The problem with that is that a lot of times the due diligence isn't done until the board approves the money for that project in that year. And by that time, that's why we have some of these cost overruns, and things weren't looked at as carefully as they probably should have. But overall, I think budget, capital projects, a lot of this kind of, you know, flows together, but it's, I mean, that's really, I think that's pretty much it.
So TC, can you tell us why you feel you're the best candidate to get people's votes for the board? And with so many people running, what sets you apart?
Well, I think just from my background being, I was enlisted before I became an officer, and then I became a vice president at a large organization, that does military production. So I have a lot of background working at the tactical level, the organizational level, the executive level. So I do know how to lead people. I know how to follow. And I think to be a good leader, you have to be a good follower. So I personally think that with my background in project management, and I'm trained project manager, my background in manufacturing, my background in projects, running a lot of different programs within the military and in the industrial world. I mean, I ran multi-million-dollar programs, both in the military and in industry. I have that background. I have the background of running a P&L, which is a profit and loss center for a large company. I ran a $6 billion program for combat rescue helicopters within the Air Force. So I have a lot of background in different areas that I think I can help out on. In the Coast Guard, I ran the actual facility, system, much like we have for our M&E and all that. I was the lead for the Coast Guard station. So I have all that background that I think that I could, that I could help. And plus, I want to help. And my view is, on the board, we should be the people that are helping the people that live here, not causing them more struggles within the things. A lot of times the committees and the board are looked at as they're not helpful, and I completely have a different mindset on that. Even when I was in ECC, I always was trying to help the person at the house. I enjoyed that job because you got out to meet all the people in the community and you were able to help them. So I look at the regulation to see whether or not I can help them. If I can't help them, can I change the regulation? Can I do whatever I can do to try to help the homeowners here? Because that's what the board and the committees are all about, is the homeowners.